Hey everyone, it's been a little while, but I finally started working on my RPG again. So I have another update for you. This is update number 2, and let's get right into it. Been pretty busy lately, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on this, but this past week I've actually had a decent amount of time. And I got a little things done here, little things done there, and I actually did a whole bunch of stuff. Last video I showed you um, what did I show you? I showed you how to fight an enemy. So I actually have enemies, you can battle them. And I showed you kind of my load save process a little bit. But now we'll see how much other stuff I've done. So I have equipable weapons now. Last time I didn't have that. So now you can equip things like swords, bow and arrows. So I have a weapon. I've got an armor. So the basic armor is a shirt. But then you can get things later in the game like chainmail and shields and stuff like that. Who knows? And then I also added 2 rings, so you can wear 2 rings, and those rings act as little bonuses right now. They could be anything I want, but right now they're like little bonuses, like 5% more HP, do 10% more damage, collect 5% more coins, stuff like that. So I added those. What does this say? I added more items to the game. I added the ability to actually flee from a battle. So if you face a tough enemy, you can try to run away. It has I don't know what it is right now, probably like 85% chance of success, but you might fail. Enemies can also flee. I've got a working inventory system now, so you can check your inventory, what items you have. You can equip your weapons using that inventory system as well. I'll show you that. I also have shops. Right now, if you travel downwards, you'll run into a shop, and that shop will randomly have, well, it'll have 5 items, but those items will be random, so they'll be different every time you enter that shop, and it'll have between 1 and 5 quantity of each item. And you can buy and sell from those shops. So you can buy the items they have, and you can sell the items that you have back to them. Worked on the battle system a little bit. I did this thing with items and moves. I didn't really design this RPG too well from the beginning. I just started coding, which is a very naughty thing to do. It's bad design. You shouldn't do that. But what can I say? So, as I developed it a little bit more, I decided, I should move some stuff around. And one thing I decided to do was to associate moves with items. So if you equip a sword, then you should get a particular move with that sword. In this case, it'll be slice. If you equip a bow and arrow, you shouldn't be able to slice anymore. That doesn't make any sense. When you equip a bow and arrow, you should be able to use those arrows. So now these items have moves associated with them. But you also have regular moves that you can use no matter what item you have, like punch. You should be able to punch no matter what item you have in your arsenal or what you have currently equipped. I also added types to both enemies and weapons. So birds, for instance, are the only real type I have. They're an air type because they fly in the air. And bow and arrows also have that air type, so they're effective against birds. It's a little more complicated than that, but basically if you use a weapon type that's the same type as a enemy, then it does extra damage. If you use a type that is not the same as an enemy, it does less damage. And if the enemy type is 0, which means, well, I'm using integers to define types, basically. So if the enemy is a 0 or a non-type, then any weapon will do its base damage. So you won't get a positive or negative from those weapons. What else have I done? Yada yada. These are just notes I put at the beginning of my program to help me remember what I've done. I decided how I was going to base damage. Damage is based off of both the move and the weapon. So let's say I have a regular sword that has a slice move, and then I've got like a battle axe that also has the same slice move. The damage, to calculate the damage, I take the move multiplied by the weapon. So the battle axe will do more damage using the same move than the sword will do, essentially. Check moves in and out of battle. Oh, yeah, I also made a way so you can actually look at your moves and see, what they are, how much damage they do, etc. And you can also check your stats now. So I added a whole bunch of new features and functions, and I will show those to you now. I'm going to try to stop the video at 10 minutes because it takes forever to load, and YouTube and Facebook kind of have a limit on file sizes. So if I go past my 10 minutes, I'll have a second part to this video. We'll see how it goes, though. I also, what I have left to do, a whole bunch of stuff, mostly tweaking now. I think I've gotten most of my main features in, but there's a lot of tweaking I gotta do. I gotta add more items and more moves to the system as a whole. I gotta edit some things, add in some randomness, maybe add in a couple more little features, new wallet sizes so you can upgrade your wallet or upgrade your inventory size, and do a whole bunch of other little things. The other main thing I really need to do is add a map or something, some kind of graphical thing like I talked about in my first video. Right now it's just all text-based, but I want to add some kind of map, some kind of overall world design or something like that. I'm not sure, I haven't thought it through yet. Just getting all the basics in. I think, how many lines of code do I have? I started with 600 from my first video update, and now I'm at about 1,500 almost. So I've made a lot of progress, over 600 lines from last time. Have a whole lot of new functions. I don't know, it's all very complicated. But the main thing I added were the shops, and adding moves to items, giving types to enemies and weapons. I don't know. Let's just run the program, and I'll walk you through some of the stuff I've added. Alright, so same basic layout. You can load a game, or you can start a new game. I will load a game. Awesome Man. He's cool, but I'll go with my Zach. And this has changed a little bit. You still have your move up, down, left, right. You still have your inventory, but now you have a view moves and a view stats, and you're safe. Let's take a look at view moves first. Why not? So you can see right now I only have two moves, punch and slice. So I must have my sword equipped currently. And you can see a little description, and then you can see a little damage. 5 times X, so that means that this move does 5 base damage, and then times whatever your weapon stat is. So for punch, it doesn't really have a weapon stat, so ignore that. But with slice, that'll be 10 times my weapon stat. For my sword, I think my sword weapon stat is probably 1. We can look it up a little bit. But the damage calculator will be 10 times 1 times whatever my level is, because you power up, so your moves power up with you. So that is view moves. I'll check that out later when I switch to my bow and arrow, and we'll see how that changes. Let's go to view stats now. Also pretty simple. It gives you your name, your level, your experience points. It gives you your wallet, so how many coins I have, and my value. Value isn't very self-explanatory, and what that means is all of the items in my inventory, if I wanted to sell all of them, that's how many coins I would get. I'd have 4 coins. Or at least base coins. I might do something where different shops will buy back your items at a different price, add in some of that randomness. But your base price for selling all of your items would be 4 coins. Not very impressive. We can check out the inventory real quick. It's a little more complex than that. First thing you see is, so with the view moves and view stats, you only push 6 and 7, and then you go back to the main menu. You don't do anything else. With inventory, there's actually more to do. You are taken to a different menu. As you can see, preface choice with U for use, or D for define. So as you can see, in my inventory I have a sword, cookie, shirt, and I can go back to the main menu. And as you can also see, there's a number beside that, and that is how many of that item I have. So I have 1 sword, I have 2 cookies, and I have 1 shirt. If I want to do D, so let's see, I want to look at the sword. So I would hit D first because I want to define the sword. I don't want to use the sword. And then D1. Sword, shitty first sword, damage multiplier X times 1. So, like I said, it was times 1. So if I use that slice move, it would be 10 times 1 for a total of 10 damage. And now make another selection. So let's try to use the sword. So I do a U1, and sword is now equipped. So depending on what item you actually try to use, they'll get used in a different way. In this case, sword is an equipable item, so you actually equip it. So because sword is a weapon, it's defined as a weapon in my program, you can equip it. If I had a regular weapon, like let's say a bomb, and I tried to use that outside of battle, it would give me an error saying you can't use this item outside of a battle. Shirt is the same way. I can go ahead and use that. Shirt is an equipable weapon. That's my armor. So shirt is now equipped. If I had different armor, different weapons, I could equip those. Cookie is a health item. You can use those outside of battle. I'll define it first. What is that? 2? D2. Cookie, yummy. This item restores 5 HP. I can use it. I don't know if I have full HP right now. It doesn't really matter. You use it. Cookie used. And I should probably add a little message that says you've regained 5 HP. But I'll do that later. So that is my inventory. You can also pull up this inventory during battle. I'll show you that. It looks the exact same, but it's slightly different. It's got some rules. So like if you used a cookie, that would be your turn. But if you equip stuff, then you still get to use your turn. So you can still attack. So changes up in different scenarios. But I've reached my 12-minute mark, so this is the end of the first part of Status Update 2.